The line at First National Bank was moving slowly, which was fine with Grace Holloway. She had nowhere else to be until her evening shift at the diner started at 6. In her hand was an envelope containing $847, every dollar she had saved in the past year working 2 jobs. The check inside was made out to her brother's medical fund. It wasn't enough. It would never be enough, but it was something. Behind her, a man's voice cut through the quiet murmur of the bank lobby, sharp and cold. I don't need another recommendation. I've hired 14 nannies in 3 years. Not one of them made a difference. The latest one lasted 6 weeks before she quit. She said my daughter was unreachable. That's the word she used. Unreachable. Grace didn't turn around. She had learned not to insert herself into other people's problems. No more specialists, the voice continued. She's seen 11 therapists. They all say the same thing. Trauma. Selective mutism requires patience. I've given her patience. 3 years of patience. She hasn't spoken a word. The frustration in that voice was raw, almost desperate. Grace found herself wondering what kind of child could remain silent for 3 years, and what kind of father could sound so defeated talking about it. That's when she saw the girl. A small figure in a pink dress was running across the marble floor of the bank lobby, running fast with her arms pumping and her patent leather shoes clicking against the stone. She was heading directly toward the counter, and she wasn't watching where she was going. Grace saw what was about to happen before it did. The girl's foot caught on the edge of a carpet. Her body pitched forward, and Grace moved without thinking, dropping to her knees, arms coming up to catch the child before her face hit the floor. They ended up tangled together. Grace on her knees, the girl in her arms. Hey, you're okay, Grace said automatically, her voice falling into the soothing rhythm she used with her brother when he had nightmares. I've got you. Are you hurt? The girl didn't answer, didn't cry, didn't make a sound. Grace pulled back to look at her. The child was maybe 7 years old with brown hair, cut in a perfect bob, and a dress that probably cost more than Grace's monthly rent. But her eyes were what stopped Grace cold. They were ancient, wounded. The eyes of someone who had retreated so far inside themselves that the world outside was just noise. Grace recognized those eyes. She had seen them in her own mirror in the months after the fire that took her parents. Let me see your hands, Grace said gently. Make sure nothing's scraped. The girl slowly extended her palms. No scratches, no redness. She was fine. Grace smiled. Not the polite smile she gave customers at work, but the real one, the one her brother called her actual face. All clear, she announced. That was almost a spectacular wipeout, very dramatic. The girl blinked, and then she opened her mouth. You! Her voice was cracked, as if the words were being dragged across gravel. You have a smile like my mommy. Grace felt the world tilt beneath her. Before she could respond, a man materialized beside them, the same man from the phone call. Up close, he was tall, dark-haired with gray at the temples, wearing a suit that cost more than Grace's car. His face was frozen in an expression of absolute shock. Lily, he breathed, did you just speak? The girl, Lily, turned to look at her father, her mouth closed. The moment of connection sealed itself away like a door sliding shut. She didn't speak again. How long had it been since this girl spoke to anyone? The question haunted Grace as she completed her deposit and left the bank. 3 years, the man had said. 3 years of silence, of specialists, of nannies who quit. And then a stranger caught her when she fell and she spoke. You have a smile like my mommy. Grace didn't understand what it meant. She didn't know it would change everything. She had a bus to catch, a shift to work, a brother to keep alive. She walked to the bus stop and waited. 3 days later, Grace was stacking soup cans at Save Mart when her manager appeared at the end of the aisle looking uncomfortable. Holloway, someone's here to see you. He's waiting in my office. Who? He didn't say, but Grace, her manager lowered his voice. He came in a car that cost more than this building. The man from the bank was sitting in a plastic chair that seemed too small for him. He stood when Grace entered. Miss Holloway, thank you for seeing me. How do you know my name? I had someone find you. I apologize. I know this is unconventional. Unconventional is one word for it. Grace crossed her arms. What do you want? My name is Ethan Mercer. My daughter is Lily. You met her 3 days ago. The girl who fell? Yes, the girl who spoke. Ethan's voice cracked slightly on the word. Grace stared at him. My wife Catherine died in a car accident 3 years ago, he continued. Lily was in the car. She survived, but something broke. She hasn't spoken a single word since that night. Not to me, not to doctors, not to anyone. He paused, and Grace saw the exhaustion beneath the expensive suit, the bone-deep weariness of a man who had been fighting a losing battle for 1,000 days. And then you smiled at her, and she spoke. I don't know why she spoke to me, Grace said carefully. It was random. A coincidence, maybe, but it happened. Ethan took a breath. I want to make you an offer. I'm not for sale. Please hear me out. Grace studied him, the tension in his shoulders, the desperation in his eyes. Despite everything, he looked like nothing more than a father terrified of losing his daughter. You have 2 minutes. Ethan nodded. I know about your situation. Your brother Thomas needs heart surgery within 2 months. The cost is approximately $280,000. You've been denied by every bank and assistance program you've applied to. Grace's jaw tightened. You had no right to investigate me. No, I didn't. But I did it anyway because I need you to understand what I'm offering isn't charity. It's an exchange. An exchange for what? Your presence, your time. He paused. Your smile. Grace laughed, short and bitter. My smile. Lily spoke to you because of your smile. I don't understand it. I don't need to. I only know that my daughter has been lost to me for 3 years. And for one moment in a bank lobby, she came back. His voice dropped. Here's my offer. I pay for your brother's surgery. All of it. I also establish a trust fund, $100 million, structured to ensure financial security for you and your family for the rest of your lives. Grace stopped breathing. In return, I'm asking you to be a presence in my daughter's life. Not a nanny, not a therapist, just someone who shows up, someone who smiles at her. For 1 year. If after that year you want to leave, you keep everything, no conditions. No, Ethan blinked. No, I'm not a product you can purchase. Grace's voice was steady, though her heart was pounding. Your daughter needs her father, not a hired stranger. Learn to reach her yourself. The words hit him like physical blows. Grace watched his expression shift. Surprise, anger, then shame. You don't understand, he said quietly. Then explain. Ethan was silent for a long moment. When he spoke again, his voice was stripped of its corporate polish. The night Catherine died, she was driving to pick up Lily from her grandmother's house. I was supposed to go, but I had a meeting, an important meeting. He looked at the floor. I stayed at work. Catherine drove through a storm. A drunk driver crossed the center line. Grace felt something shift in her chest, a recognition. My parents died when I was 18, she said. The words came out before she could stop them. House fire. I wasn't home. I was at a friend's party. My brother and I were the only survivors. Ethan looked up. For years, I blamed myself, Grace continued. I let that guilt convince me I didn't deserve to be happy, that my job was to suffer. How did you stop? Grace smiled, small and sad. I haven't, not entirely, but I've learned that guilt makes terrible decisions. She met his eyes. Your daughter doesn't need you to buy her a replacement mother. She needs you to stop being a ghost. She turned and walked out. 2 weeks later, Tommy collapsed. Grace found him unconscious on the bathroom floor. His skin gray, his lips blue. The ambulance came in 7 minutes. The doctors used words like acute cardiac event and critical intervention required. In the hospital hallway, a doctor explained the situation. The surgery needs to happen within 6 weeks. Without it, your brother won't survive. How much? Roughly $280,000. Your insurance won't cover most of it. Grace sat in the hallway outside the ICU at 2 a.m. watching her brother through the glass. He was 17 years old. He was supposed to be thinking about college and first dates. Instead, he was dying. She had tried everything. Bank loans denied. Crowdfunding, $11,000 in 2 weeks. Not enough. Nowhere close to enough. I'll pay for your brother's surgery, all of it. The words echoed in her head. She took out her phone. She still had his card. The phone rang twice. Miss Holloway. His voice was unsurprised, as if he'd been waiting. I changed my mind, Grace said, but I have conditions. Name them. Tommy's surgery happens first. Before I sign anything, before I do anything. Agreed. I won't pretend to be something I'm not. If Lily doesn't respond to me, the arrangement ends. Agreed. And after 1 year, if I leave, you never contact me again. A pause. I agree, but I have one condition of my own. What? You won't lie to Lily. If she asks why you're there, you tell her the truth, everything. Grace's breath caught. It was the cruelest condition he could have chosen. It meant Lily could reject her at any moment. Why? Because my daughter has already lost one person she trusted. I won't have her believe in a fantasy only to have it destroyed later. Grace closed her eyes. Fine. When can you start? After Tommy's surgery, after I know he's safe. The surgery will be scheduled this week, Stamford Medical Center. Grace wanted to argue, wanted to say she didn't need his help yet, but Tommy was dying. Thank you, she said. The words scraped against something inside her. Don't thank me yet, Ethan replied. Thank me if my daughter speaks again. Tommy's surgery took 7 hours. When Dr. Chen finally emerged, exhausted but smiling, she said, he's going to be fine, better than fine. Grace sat down because her legs stopped working. Are you all right? The doctor asked. Perfect, Grace said and started crying. I'm absolutely perfect. 1 week later, Grace stood at the gates of the Mercer estate in Pacific Heights. The house wasn't a house, it was a statement. 3 stories of glass and stone with a view of the Golden Gate Bridge and half of Moran County. The grounds were immaculate. The fountain looked European. The driveway was probably imported from Italy. Grace's entire apartment building could have fit in the garage. A woman named Margaret, Ethan's chief of staff, met her at the gate and led her through hallways that demonstrated exactly how much square footage money could buy. They stopped outside a door. The playroom, Margaret said. Miss Lily is inside. Will preparing help? Probably not. Then I'm ready. The playroom was enormous, filled with expensive toys that looked largely untouched. A dollhouse the size of a car, shelves of books with uncracked spines. In the center, sitting on a handmade rug, was Lily. She was drawing. Her caregiver, a woman with the weary expression of someone who had given up, sat nearby, scrolling through her phone. Lily didn't look up when Grace entered. Grace walked over and sat down on the rug a few feet away. She didn't say anything, didn't try to engage, just sat there watching Lily's hand move across the paper. Minutes passed. Lily finished her drawing, set down her crayon, and slowly turned to look at Grace. Those ancient, wounded eyes. Grace smiled, the real one, and Lily smiled back. The first month was quiet. Grace didn't try to be a mother. She didn't try to be anything. She simply existed in Lily's orbit, present, available, undemanding. She discovered Lily loved to draw, real drawing. The girl had genuine talent that no one seemed to have noticed. Grace started leaving art supplies around the house. A sketchbook on the kitchen table, colored pencils by the window, watercolors in the sunroom. She didn't comment on them, just left them there. Slowly, Lily began to use them. The drawings were mostly the same subject. A woman with brown hair and a warm smile. Catherine. Sometimes in a garden, sometimes in a kitchen, sometimes in a car. The car drawings always had rain on the windshield. Grace didn't ask about them. She waited. One afternoon, Lily had appeared at her elbow with a piece of paper. It's for you. Her voice was still rough from years of disuse, but she was speaking more now. Short sentences, single words. Grace took the paper. 2 figures, one tall, one small, sitting together on a rug. That's us, Lily said, in the playroom. It's beautiful. Lily nodded. Seriously, I made a new one of Mommy too. Do you want to see? If you want to show me. The girl hesitated, then reached into her pocket and pulled out a folded piece of paper. She handed it to Grace with the solemnity of someone entrusting a sacred artifact. Grace unfolded it. 2 women standing side by side, one with brown hair, Catherine, one with black hair, smiling. I put you next to her, Lily explained, because your smiles are the same. Something cracked open in Grace's chest. Lily, Mommy would have liked you, the girl said quietly. I think she would have been happy that I found someone whose smile doesn't hurt to look at. Grace opened her arms. Lily hesitated only a moment. Then she was there, small and warm, and Grace held her and thought about all the different ways a heart could break and heal at the same time. The second month brought Tommy's visit. He insisted on meeting the kid who got you to accept $100 million. Grace hadn't planned to bring him. She had been keeping her 2 worlds separate, but Tommy was stubborn. Lily was shy at first, hiding behind Grace's legs, peeking out at the tall teenager. Hi, Tommy said, crouching to her level. I'm Tommy. Grace is my sister. Lily looked up at Grace as if asking permission. It's okay, you can talk to him. Are you sick? Lily asked. Grace said you were sick. I was, but I'm getting better. My mommy was sick, then she went away. Tommy's expression shifted. I'm sorry about your mommy. That must have been really hard. Lily nodded. It was, but Grace is here now. She has a smile like Mommy. Yeah. Tommy's voice was soft. Grace has always had a good smile. Lily reached out and took his hand. Do you want to see my drawings? I'd love to. Grace watched them walk off together, Lily chattering in a way she'd never heard before. "She's talking," the voice came from behind her. Grace turned to find Ethan watching his daughter disappear around a corner. "She talks more every day," Grace said. "I know, Margaret keeps me updated." There was something in his voice. Envy, maybe, longing. "Have you tried talking to her yourself?" Ethan's jaw tightened. "Every morning before I leave, every night when I come home, she looks at me like I'm a stranger." "Maybe you are to her right now." He flinched. "I'm not being cruel," Grace said, "but you're barely here. You leave before she wakes up. Come home after she's asleep. How can she know you if she never sees you? I have a company to run. You have a daughter." "I know." His voice cracked. "But every time I look at her, I see Catherine. I see the accident. I see everything I failed to do." Grace studied him, the exhaustion, the grief, the weight he carried. "You're not the only one who lost someone," she said quietly. "Lily lost her mother. She needs to know she hasn't lost her father too." That night, Ethan came home before Lily's bedtime. He sat on the edge of her bed while Grace read a story. He didn't say much, just listened, his presence quiet and uncertain. But when Lily fell asleep, she was holding his hand. The fourth month brought Victoria Ashford. Grace was in the kitchen when the front door slammed open. "Where is she?" A woman's voice, sharp as ice. "Where is the girl they've brought to replace my daughter?" Grace walked into the foyer. Victoria was 70, silver-haired, dressed in designer clothes. Her eyes were Catherine's eyes. Same shape, same color, but cold where Catherine's had been warm. "You must be the charity case," Victoria said, looking Grace up and down. "The cashier who convinced my son-in-law to write a check." "I'm Grace Holloway. I know exactly who you are. I had you investigated." Victoria stepped closer. "Do you know what I found? A girl who couldn't save her own parents. A girl drowning in debt. A girl desperate enough to sell herself for the right price." The words landed like blows, but Grace didn't flinch. "Lily is doing well. She's speaking again." "She's speaking to you," Victoria said. "Not her father, not her own blood." Victoria's voice dripped contempt. "You think that's progress? I think it's proof that Ethan has failed so completely as a parent that his daughter prefers a stranger." Grace said nothing because Victoria wasn't entirely wrong. "I'm filing for custody," Victoria continued, "and I will use your contract, your $100 million transaction, as evidence that Ethan Mercer is unfit to raise his own child." Ethan's voice cut through the tension. "That's enough, Victoria." He was standing at the top of the staircase. "Grace has not hired help. She is a member of this household. For now," Victoria smiled coldly. "We'll see how long that lasts once the courts get involved." She walked to the door and paused. "Enjoy this while it lasts, Miss Holloway, because when I'm finished, you'll be back in Oakland, where you belong." The door closed behind her. Grace stood very still. "Don't listen to her," Ethan said. "She's right about one thing." Grace's voice was flat. "Lily still doesn't talk to you directly. As long as I'm here, she might never have to." "That's not a—" "It's true, I'm a bridge, Ethan, but bridges can become walls." She walked past him up the stairs. She needed to think. The lawsuit came 3 weeks later. Victoria filed for custody, citing Ethan's unconventional approach to child care in the $100 million contract with Grace. The news leaked. Within days, it was everywhere. Billionaire pays $100 million for surrogate mother. Tech mogul's desperate attempt to buy his daughter's love. Grace saw her face on a tabloid cover when she visited Tommy. She heard the whispers in her old neighborhood. "Is it true?" a former coworker asked. "Did you really get paid to play house with some rich guy's kid?" "It's complicated." "Complicated?" the woman snorted. "Must be nice." Grace didn't respond. What could she say? The breaking point came on a Thursday night. Grace heard crying from Lily's room. She found the girl curled in a ball on her bed, sobbing silently. "Lily, what's wrong?" "Grandma says you're going to leave." The words came in gasps. "She says you only stayed because Daddy paid you. She says you don't really love me." Something inside Grace shattered. She sat on the bed and pulled Lily into her arms. "Listen to me. I was paid to come here, that's true. But no one paid me to love you. That happened on its own. That happened because you're smart and funny and you make beautiful drawings. That happened because when you look at me, I feel like the luckiest person in the world." "Then why does everyone say you're going to leave?" "Because," Grace hesitated, "because sometimes loving someone means doing what's best for them, even if it hurts." "Would leaving be best for me?" The question cut through Grace like a knife. "I don't know," she admitted. "I know. Lily's voice was small but certain. Leaving wouldn't be best for me. Because when you're here, I'm not scared anymore. When you're here, I can remember Mommy and it doesn't hurt as much. Grace held her tighter. Don't leave, Lily whispered. Please, I'll be good. I'll talk to Daddy. Just don't leave. I promise, Grace said. It was a promise she had no right to make. She made it anyway. Ethan found them later, both asleep on Lily's bed. Grace curled protectively around the girl. He stood in the doorway, watching them. This was what Catherine would have wanted. Not money, not contracts. This, a woman who loved their daughter, a home where healing could happen. He had done so many things wrong, hidden from his grief, buried himself in work, let his daughter drift away. But watching them sleep, he knew one thing. He would not let this family be destroyed. Not again. The preliminary hearing was brutal. Victoria's lawyers presented the contract, documented the payments, brought expert witnesses who testified about the psychological implications of purchasing parental figures. Victoria herself took the stand, tears in her eyes. My beloved daughter is dead. Her husband has failed Lily completely. And now he wants to hand her to a stranger, a cashier, a nobody, because he's too broken to be a father himself. Through it all, Ethan sat silent. When it was his turn, he stood alone. Everything Victoria said about the contract is true. I paid Grace $100 million to enter my daughter's life. I did it because I was desperate, because I had failed every other approach, because my daughter hadn't spoken in 3 years. And then one day a stranger smiled at her and she spoke. He paused. I'm not going to pretend I did everything right. I didn't. I hid from my grief. I told myself I was giving Lily the best care money could buy, when what she needed was a father who was present. Victoria's lawyer stirred, ready to object. But something changed, Ethan continued. Grace entered our home as an employee. She is no longer an employee. She is a mother to my daughter, not a replacement. Something new. Something Lily chose for herself. How can a 7-year-old choose a mother? The lawyer demanded. Ethan turned to face him. How can anyone? Love isn't rational. It happens when someone looks at you and sees who you really are. He looked at Grace in the gallery. I'm asking the court for a chance to be the father my daughter deserves. And I'm asking you to let Grace be part of that future. Not because I paid her, but because my daughter loves her, and she loves my daughter, and that love is real. The judge made notes. I'll need to order a psychological evaluation, and I want to hear from Lily herself. She speaks now, Ethan said. She speaks. Grace wasn't in the courtroom. She was in Oakland, watching a live stream on her phone. Tommy sat beside her, holding her hand. She saw Lily speak, saw Ethan cry. Saw the judge nod slowly. She cried too. You're not going? Tommy asked. It's not my place. A knock at the door. Grace opened it. Ethan stood there, suit wrinkled, eyes red, breathing hard like he'd run the whole way. How did you? I've known your address since the beginning. I never came because I thought you needed space. He stepped closer. Lily wants you to come home. And you? Ethan looked at her, really looked. I hired you for my daughter, but I came here for me. His voice was raw. 6 months ago, this was a contract. It stopped being a contract a long time ago. You taught me what I forgot, how to be present, how to feel, how to live. Grace shook her head. You don't owe me anything. I took your money. It was a transaction. That was the beginning. Love isn't a transaction. He reached for her hand. And I love you, Grace Holloway. Not because you saved my daughter, because you're you. 6 months later, morning light streamed through the windows of the Mercer estate. Grace stood at the kitchen counter making pancakes. Flip it! Flip it! Lily bounced in her chair, drawings spread around her. Tommy appeared in the doorway, sleepy, his hair sticking up. He'd moved into a guest room after getting his scholarship to Berkeley. He visited on weekends. Smells amazing, Tommy said. Lily held up her latest drawing. Look, it's us. 4 figures. A tall Mamsian, a woman with black hair, a small girl, and a teenage boy with glasses. At the bottom, in Lily's careful handwriting, my family, not by blood, but by choice. Ethan walked in, already dressed but moving slowly the way he did on weekend mornings. Now he came up behind Grace and kissed the top of her head. Have I told you I love you today? Twice, keep going. From the table, Lily made gagging sounds. Gross. Extremely gross, Tommy agreed. Grace laughed, a real laugh, free and full. A year ago, she hadn't known how to laugh like this. A year ago, she'd been drowning in guilt and certainty that she didn't deserve happiness. Now she was making pancakes in a mansion with a man who loved her, a daughter who had chosen her, and a brother who was alive and thriving. "Hey, Lily, hi, Sarah," Grace said, bringing the pancakes to the table. "Your drawing is beautiful, but I think it needs one more thing." She picked up a pink crayon and carefully drew a fifth figure in the sky, a woman with brown hair and a warm smile. "There," she said, "now Mommy's there too." Lily studied the drawing, then looked up at Grace with eyes that were no longer ancient and wounded, just young and hopeful and loved. "You're right," she said softly. "Now it's perfect." That night, Grace and Ethan sat on the balcony watching the city lights. "I was thinking about the bank," Ethan said. "The first day. What about it?" "I didn't notice you at first. I was on the phone complaining about my failures. Then Lily fell and you caught her and she spoke." He turned to look at her. "Do you remember what she said?" "She said I had a smile like her mommy. I thought about that for a long time, what it meant." He paused. "I think Catherine sent you." Grace looked at him, surprised. "I don't believe in fate." "I don't either," Ethan continued. "But I believe in love, and I believe love doesn't end. It echoes. It finds ways to reach the people who need it." He took her hand. "Catherine loved Lily more than anything. I think that love reached out and found you, someone who could smile the right smile at the right moment." Grace didn't know what to say. "If that's true," she said finally, "then I need to thank her." "How?" "By being happy, by loving you both for the rest of my life." Ethan squeezed her hand. "I think she'd like that." They sat in silence, watching the lights, and somewhere down the hall, a little girl slept peacefully, her newest drawing pinned to the wall. A family not made by blood, but by choice. The smile that had changed everything. The smile that had brought them all home. And so a smile that cost nothing became worth more than $100 million. Because in the end, family isn't about blood or contracts. It's about the people who choose to stay. In the tender miracle of a single smile that broke 3 years of silence, Grace and Lily's story whispers a truth we too often forget. The most powerful currency in life isn't money, status, or grand gestures. It's presence. Grace didn't buy her way into Lily's heart with promises or wealth. She simply showed up, unguarded and real, offering the one thing a wounded child craved most. Someone who saw her pain without trying to fix it. Someone whose smile carried no agenda, only quiet understanding. Ethan learned the hardest lesson of all, that love cannot be outsourced or purchased, only lived. And in choosing honesty over illusion, they built something unbreakable. A family not forged by blood or contracts, but by the brave decision to stay, to see, to heal together. Sometimes the greatest rescue isn't dramatic. It's the gentle act of remaining when running would be easier, proving that one authentic moment of connection can mend what years of silence tried to destroy. What part of Grace, Lily, and Ethan's journey touched you deepest? Have you ever been the person whose quiet presence helped someone find their voice again? Or been the one who needed someone to stay? Share your heart in the comments. I read every word and they always move me. And if stories of chosen family, healing through love, and the courage to be truly seen light a spark inside you, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. Let's keep sharing these reminders that even in the deepest silence, hope still finds a way to speak.